The Young and the Restless spoilers. Cameron leaned back in his leather chair, a sinister smile playing at the corners of his mouth. His eyes glistened with the spark of a new idea, one that, while outrageous and morally twisted, promised to cause unimaginable chaos. Sharon, he began, his voice smooth and calculated, what if we make Daniel pay for everything by framing him for Heather's murder? Sharon, sitting across from him, raised an eyebrow. Her lips curled into a sly smile as she considered the suggestion. The very thought of Daniel's suffering gave her a rush of excitement. Heather and Daniel had been the picture of dysfunction for months, barely holding on to the threads of their broken relationship. Sharon had watched it unravel from the sidelines, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Now, it seemed, Cameron had presented her with that opportunity. You want me to create fake evidence? Make it look like Daniel killed Heather? Sharon's voice was laced with anticipation as she leaned forward, her fingers drumming against the table. Exactly, Cameron said, his eyes darkening. We plant the evidence, we get the police involved, and watch as his life crumbles around him. Daniel has always been a problem, and now we can make sure he's out of the picture for good. Sharon's mind began to spin with the possibilities. Revenge against Daniel was something she had been longing for. His family had wronged her in ways she couldn't forgive, and this was her chance to settle the score. But this plan wasn't just about making Daniel suffer, it was about total destruction. If they succeeded, not only would Daniel be taken down, but his entire family would be humiliated in the public eye. The idea was deliciously twisted, and the more Sharon thought about it, the more she loved it. But she also knew that Daniel wasn't someone to be underestimated. He was clever, calculating, and always one step ahead of his enemies. If she was going to frame him, she would need to be meticulous, every detail had to be perfect. We'll have to be careful, Sharon said slowly, her eyes narrowing. Daniel is suspicious by nature, and he's already on edge after what happened with Heather. If he even gets a whiff of this, he'll know something's up. Cameron waved his hand dismissively. That's where you come in, Sharon. You've already broken into his house once. You know his routines, his habits. You can get in and plant the evidence without leaving a trace. Sharon's mind raced. Breaking into Daniel's house again wasn't the problem, she had already done it before, slipping in and out unnoticed, but this time would be different. Daniel was paranoid now. He had installed more security cameras and had been constantly looking over his shoulder. But Sharon knew something that Daniel didn't, she knew how to bypass his security system. She knew where the main circuit breaker was, hidden away in the garage, and with one flick of the switch, she could plunge his house into darkness, disabling all the cameras. A wicked grin spread across her face. I know how to handle Daniel's security. He won't even know I was there. Cameron chuckled, clearly pleased with her enthusiasm. Perfect. We'll make sure everything points directly at him. A murder weapon with his fingerprints, maybe some of Heather's belongings hidden in his home. When the police show up, they'll have everything they need to arrest him. But even as she savored the thought of Daniel being dragged away in handcuffs, a sliver of doubt crept into Sharon's mind. This was a dangerous game they were playing. If something went wrong, she could end up behind bars. And prison wasn't part of her plan. Sharon wanted revenge, not to sacrifice herself in the process. I'm not going down for this, Cameron, Sharon said firmly. If anything goes wrong, you need to make sure I'm in the clear. Cameron nodded, his expression serious. Don't worry, Sharon. I'll make sure you're untouchable. This is Daniel's fall, not yours. Despite his reassurances, Sharon couldn't shake the feeling of unease. She had been down this road before, manipulating situations, bending the truth to her will, but this was different. Framing someone for murder was a step into dangerous territory, and there were no guarantees of success. Still, the desire for revenge burned deep within her, and she couldn't resist the pull of Cameron's plan. The two of them spent the next several hours plotting out the details, crafting the perfect scenario. They would make it look like Daniel had been harboring resentment toward Heather for months, that he had finally snapped in a fit of rage. Sharon would plant incriminating evidence in his home, bloody clothing, a piece of Heather's jewelry, and perhaps even the murder weapon itself. Cameron and Sharon both reveled in the darkness of their plan, but beneath the surface, Sharon remained cautious. She knew that Daniel wasn't going to take this lying down.